Yesterday could have ended up being a very, very ugly day overall. Didn't finish that bad. Actually, it ended up kind of right where we were at earlier in the day and when we were talking about Shiba Inu price. And we're actually seeing a little bit of green to start the day. Hopefully, this is something that can continue as the day progresses. But I want to show you guys a few in-depth things right now. What we're actually watching is long-term holder conversion. This is actually a really important point when we talk about Shiba Inu strength and conviction by the community. And we're actually seeing large holder expansion during this time as well, which is a really promising sign that tends to lead to pumps over time. And we'll discuss all that and more in this video. So again, if you guys are new or haven't already, show your support for the channel down below. Hit that subscribe button, that bell. It's free to do. It'll keep you updated anytime there's new content live here on the channel. So obviously, we're now in the weekend. The weekend is at least a temporary point of stability. If you guys remember, and I referenced this in my ADA video earlier today, we had something similar to what we went through over the course of this week take place back here in the middle of October. 4 straight ugly red weekdays that finally led us to a point where we showed some stability and bounce in the market. This was actually where SHIB started to show a lot of stability on this longer term trend. Now we're below that right now, and I think SHIB at some point here is going to try to make an attempt back at this. The only thing I don't like right now about these charts is that the 20-day moving average is now moved below this line. So we have basically double resistance even to get back within structure, if that makes sense. But that may end up not mattering. And I'll talk about this here more in just a moment. But in terms of BTC, we got a great bounce off of our 382. So we're seeing some stability in the markets. You're seeing actual confidence in terms of some retail. We're watching actually BTC dominance on the drop through the bottom of the trend like we talked about. Right now, it's kind of a break-even day. It's barely red, but we're trying to find out, hey, do all coins have this type of conviction right now? And is it really just BTC that's kind of shitting the bed? That's really the big question here. A couple things I wanted to point to. First of all, SHIB versus BTC, looking pretty good. Actually bouncing off of that 20-day moving average. We had discussed this, and now it looks like we're on the verge of trying to make an attempt past that 50-day moving average. Don't know if it's going to happen or not, but that's something we have to watch closely. SHIB versus ETH, like we talked about, great bounce off of structure there. And now we can again be talking about SHIB versus ETH actually making a run all the way up to this 100-day moving average, which again, we haven't breached this since all the way back here in March of this year, but it obviously kicked off a nice rally in the middle of the year. Maybe that's where we're headed to. And again, it's going to depend on, confidence in the market. We've hit extremely high levels of fear, like we talked about yesterday. Talked about this in my earlier ADA video today, that we have reached levels in terms of sentiment in the market we haven't seen since March and April. All right. So there's a lot of fear and uncertainty floating around right now. And eventually, if the market doesn't do anything, if it stays sideways, that fear is going to kind of wear off. People are going to realize, hey, the market cycle is not done. We're really just getting things kicked off. Now, this is where things get interesting in terms of Shiba Inu. There's a few different things I want to show you guys. So first of all, this is SHIB percent held by the top 1% of addresses. And obviously with these weeks, you don't know what you're going to get. But what we've actually continued to see throughout the month of November is actually this percentage of supply held by the top 1% of addresses expanding. So since November 1, we've actually climbed from 92.329% to 92.354%. And it's been climbing almost every single day. Now, why this is such a big deal is if we remember, exchange supply has been flat or declining. So we're not watching these large holders or we're not watching people move supply to exchanges. This is actually true large holder accumulation, which is a pretty big deal. Now, here's another big one as well. If we take a look at the percentage of supply last active 1+ years ago, this continues to rise. And what it's showing you is that people who are buying are planning on holding for the longer term. And where this really gets interesting is actually if we take a look at this chart here. This is actually the SHIB HODL waves. This gives us a great breakdown of what supply is doing. And where this really gets interesting, I don't know if you guys can see this or not. I'm going to try to make this bigger. There we go. All right. So what we've watched here is if we take a look at the percentage of supply held by 3 to 5 years, and then 2 to 3 years, 1 to 2 years, 6 to 12 months. Watch how this changes over time. And what we're actually watching here is, if I get to this point, we watch the 1 to 2 year holders actually jump to to 34% there, right? And then actually convert to 2 to 3 year holders. I'm doing a terrible job explaining this. So we're watching each of these groups, this percentage of supply, slowly roll up the timeline, meaning that the people that have been holding from 6 to 12 months are converting to 1 to 2 year holders. The 1 to 2 year holders are converting to 2 to 3 year holders, and so on and so on and so on. And so you're actually watching, again, the conviction over time get stronger and stronger and stronger. That's a really damn big deal, okay? And again, it doesn't always mean that, price is going to move right now or anything like that. We still obviously need excitement in the market. We need new retail entering the space. But when you talk about stability, and this is where I keep going back to the people saying that, SHIB is dead and it's going to fall away and it's going to fade to nothing. You have a pretty convicted community, clearly, that gets more and more convicted as time moves on. It gets really hard to send things down at that point. And maybe that's a reason why we're seeing SHIB actually handle these last, basically since October 10th to now, much better than other assets in the space. Maybe that's just what it is, right? Maybe we need to see SHIB set the first floor here. And it makes me think about this. Not sure who's been here in SHIB for a while, but I've obviously talked about Shiba Inu here on the channel for a very long period of time, since all the way back in 2022, before I even owned Shiba Inu. And what I thought was a very interesting point back then was that Shiba Inu was one of few assets to actually not set a new low in 2022, following the drop that we saw back in June. All right. It actually took until we got the Voyager selling that took place in 2023 for Shiba Inu to actually set a new bear market low. It was actually one of the most, I don't want to say most stable assets, but it showed the most stability in terms of its floor across the crypto market. And that's a pretty big deal. And now we're seeing kind of a similar thing take place again. Does this mean that SHIB is going to be the leader out of these ranges? No. Does it mean it's going to be the best performer out of these ranges? No. But what it does show you is that you have the stability and the conviction necessary for rallies in the future. So that's just what I wanted to share with you guys. I thought this was really interesting. Don't know what to expect for the weekend here. Hopefully this balance continues. Hopefully we can get back towards structure and maybe everybody can stop freaking the hell out. But I appreciate you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts below, but have a great day. Catch you guys in the next one. Take care.